Welcome back to the NattyShedLife podcast. Today's episode is all about Chrissy. Chrissy started with us in 2009. That's almost 17 years ago now. And he is our workshop manager, and he has had a massive impact on the culture within the workshop within Gillies Mackay. And he is a key player when it comes to the quality and the buildings and what we are able to produce at Gillies Mackay. Hope you enjoy it. So let's talk about
Christopher.
Yeah, so he's been here a very long time.
Yes, he has.
He's the first legacy guy that we're talking about.
Oh, Christ. So
season,
yes.
Yeah.
So yes, we were keeping all those legacy folks out the way.
Yeah. Saving the best till last. Well, it could be both.
Yeah. No, not Chrissy though.
No, not Chrissy.
Yeah, so Chrissy, God. So Christopher was, I want to say he was about 12 or 13 when he first sort of started at Gillies Mackay. But like me, Chrissy has been around Gillies Mackay ever since he was born, because both Christopher's dad and his granddad worked within the company. So Chrissy was very much part of the first wave of G&M, where Dad and Grant had set this place up and Caroline was busy running the business. And they did loads of fun things, which actually, in hindsight, to think about today, I'm just like, we are boring as fuck. Because when Dad, Caroline and Grant started this whole thing, it was very much like a community sort of culty vibe, and they would do like everything for each other's families as well. So like the whole premise of G&M was to provide a living. And when it was like the summertime, what would happen is that everybody in the company would get their boats and we'd fuck off to an island and we'd go camping for the weekend. And we used to do this all the time in the summer. I remember it was such a big deal, big part of our lives, especially as the children growing up in that sort of environment where you'd be on the loch shore and they'd be sorting out the boats and the life jackets and all the rest of it. You're hopping in. You're across the island, setting up the fire, setting up the tents, and everything was just like magical as a kid. Like it was so much fun. Like we just absolutely thrived in that. And Chrissy was very much a part of that. I can't remember a point in my life where Chrissy wasn't there. He's been part of my family for such a long time. I think like even when Chrissy was really young, so he's a little bit younger. No, I think he's about the same age as my youngest brothers. And I remember in our tiny little cottage that Dad and Caroline have, at the back door, Chrissy's gran lived next door. And Chrissy would come and chap on the back door at tea time. We'd be like, are you guys coming out to play?
Oh.
And we just took Chrissy under our wing because like at that point, Chrissy didn't have any siblings. So like we were his siblings.
Yeah.
And he got on so well with my little brothers too. And I've always had a fondness with Chrissy. I remember babysitting him when he was wee and stuff like that as well. Not, like there's a huge age gap between us or anything. But there is a bond there for sure. So yeah, I've never not known Gillies Mackay without him. And he's had quite a journey, I think, in terms of looking back over like when he started, and it's really difficult for me to sort of timestamp it all, but ultimately he comes in at a young sort of teenager age. He's sweeping up, he's bagging sawdust, he's doing this sort of like on the nights or the weekends. And much like my other brothers, so Duncan and Dominic, like they all played a part some point in the business, and they were very much an extra pair of hands, either in the workshop or out delivering, and Chrissy sort of followed suit with that. And then it came to a point where he was wanting to do an apprenticeship. Now, whether or not, I'm not sure. You need to ask Chrissy himself. Like, I don't know if that was like his goal in life, or if this was a sort of vocational thing, or if it was just the done thing. I'm not 100% sure, but I know now he is so proud of what he can do that it was definitely the right thing. So he goes into his apprenticeship for a master craftsman, and his employer is us, Gillies Mackay. So we've got to do very similar to what happens with Callum, is that just an exploration of all the different roles within the company. And as that was going along, Chris spent most of his time out on site with Dominic, my other brother, and him and Dom formed part of the delivery team setup. So he worked under Dom pretty much. Dom had a natural ability for out on site, and so he was sort of always seen as the lead in that role. And yeah, so Chris spent a lot of time working with Dom, and we had a labour change in the workshop which required another bench joiner, and because Chris had previous experience throughout his apprenticeship, it just made sense. And so Chris went back on the bench, and he's been there ever since. And he worked very closely with Dad at the time. So Dad was woodcutting at the time. And I think that's helped set the foundations of the type of person Chrissy is today. So the influence of Dad and him, and the partnership that they have to create as woodcutter and bench joiner is a strong one. There's a lot of trust and reliability on one another to do the job correctly. And I know that when Dad was in his position, a lot of his role was managing the expectations of his workforce in terms of their outputs and their schedules and what they had to do. And I remember speaking to Dad about Christopher, one of the first times that we were sort of dipping our toes in with websites and digital transformation. This was like years and years ago, in our sort of first version of the proper Gillies Mackay website. I just had a memory of flashback to going to night school at Abertay when I was like pregnant with Paddy, trying to learn Dreamweaver, and I was what a disaster. Anyway, the first website is nothing like what it is now, right? Okay, so we can fairly say that. But we were doing the about us page, and I was asking Dad, just for a little bit for like Chrissy's bio, and I suppose like this very early stages of like me expressing sort of like, how proud I am or how I feel about my staff. And they weren't my staff at that time. So it was strange. I was just tasked with like making a website. So so Dad was like, about Chrissy, and the thing is that Dad's old school. So to like get any form of compliment or praise or belief that you're going in the right direction isn't always easy. And when you do get it, like it's valued. So so when I was asking him about Chrissy, he's like, oh, well, I just didn't have to worry about him. And I was like, but what does that mean? He goes, well, I know that he's got it. Like anything I give him, anything I ask of him, he just gets it. He gets on with it, head down, doesn't matter what it is. It's like, I know you'll get it done. He's like, and for that, and in the most basic and simplest of terms, it's just like, for someone in a leadership position not to have to worry as to whether or not somebody else is going to be able to meet your expectations, that is the dream. So like Chrissy's always done that for Dad, for Gillies and Mackay, is given us the confidence in what he's going to deliver. Not once has anyone given any second thought to how Chrissy's building's going to go up. Like it doesn't get done. Like it's unspoken. And there's nobody sitting on tenterhooks wondering, if it's going to be right, because Chrissy's made it. It's such a fantastic way to bring value, is to be able to be that reliable. And that's what Chrissy is to us. Like I am like in awe of what he can create in terms of what happens on the bench. It's like, there is just no way that this would be possible without him. There's nobody that can make the buildings the way that Chrissy does. Jamie's doing great in terms of learning and getting to that space, but in terms of expertise, like this is one key player that we cannot do without. These buildings absolutely rely on Chrissy. for his, just like everything, the intricacy, the detail, the thought, the process that Chrissy puts himself through every single building. The fact that he has understanding of how they go together on site is obviously an aid to him in terms of how well he makes them on the bench. But all rounder, you know, these buildings, massive fucking complex beasts, all imaginary in his head. He has to visualize how it's going to end up, and whilst nailing two bits of wood together. Yeah, it's
for anybody
phenomenal.
that's no watching, for it, you better be watching. For anybody that like doesn't really understand like the ins and outs of like Chrissy's role, like he's the one that does our most valuable buildings, doesn't he? Like the valuable and the complex buildings. So those are black stone garden rooms, which are like the most complex buildings to build, and then he's doing the 3-tier building, so it's 3-tier workshops.
Garages, but also there's the more, I think more so than any of that. So you've got the 3-tier layer, which is what you'll see on the workshops and the garages, and the 3-tier layer that you'll see on the external of a BGR, and then it becomes multiple layers thereafter. But the one that's the most tricky is the close board and strap, which is what we're actually sitting in. It has several layers to the external already to compensate for a vertical clad as opposed to a horizontal one. So these types of buildings, they are very intricate, and they take like the dedication of focus that's required on these, like the mental gymnastics that Chrissy has to go through to make sure that these buildings are correct. Like it's like playing chess is a perfect example, actually, in terms of understanding each move and how it connects to the next. And that's what Chrissy's got. He's got the ability to laser focus in on what he's doing in the moment, and have that ability to also shut off from absolutely everything external to be able to give him that space.
You can see that when you you walk in the workshop and you need to go and ask Chrissy something, and he's in same thing as Jamie, and it's obviously Jamie's learned that from Chrissy. You walk in and then he has the bubble around him. It's like the bubble, and you're just like kind of sneaking by like, hello, could I ask you a question? And then he's like, yeah, cool. And then out he comes out his bubble, and then after that he's right back in again, and he knows exactly where he was and exactly what he's doing and stuff. But again, like it's the mastery, the artistry, and what he does when you watch him again, as well as the way that he moves. And I think one of the things about Chrissy as well is his workshop bench set up as well. It's so tidy. It's like ridiculously tidy, and he's really I think he's really regiment about that as well, isn't he?
Yes. Aye. Yeah. He likes everything in a certain way, and he will know if anyone has touched any of it. Usually me. Have you been on my bench at the weekend painting, were you? Like, you know, I've messed something or something like that. He knows. But yeah, so there's the craftsman in him, and it's something that he is now teaching to the rest. So do you remember, because you were in the workshop at one point, weren't you? So do you remember like working beside him, what he was like working beside him in the workshop? Right, so when I was wood cutting, Chrissy would have been out on site, if I remember correctly, and then I would have been in the I would have been in the office by the time he was in the workshop for sure.
Right.
So, but it's not to say that I haven't experienced working alongside Chrissy. I mean, there's been a couple of times I've had to go back on the saw, for example, whilst he's been lead bench joiner and what have you. So, I know what it's like to work with Chrissy, and I know that we have the same sort of old time spirit in us in terms of Gordon and Dean. Like, you know, that element of being here a long time, and when I did have to go back on the saw, I think when was it, 2021 or something like that, I think after Lewis, he who shall not be named, that was, so I had to go in whilst Jamie was getting trained, and that was fun. It was good. It was good for me because I got to feel it again, and it's like a camaraderie. It's a sense of like partnership and friendship that goes to a different level. Like, you can't beat being part of a team. It's like so much fun. And I think when there's, when people struggle with a team dynamic and get miserable and start scrapping with each other, I think in work settings, I think you guys didn't ken how fucking lucky you've got it. You've got each other. Try being the person that's not got anyone. You don't get to be part of a team when you're the boss. That's not something that you get to do. You get to see it, you get to encourage it, you get to create a space for it. But you yourself, you don't get to be in it. So I loved it just for that short couple of months that I got to go back into seeing what that was like, and seeing how, like, Chrissy has the command of the space, like he is well respected, like a sensei or something, in the workshop. Like, that's like, you can tell the difference, of coming to my bubble, coming to my space with Chrissy. Like, I love actually going down and seeing them when they're interacting with one another. So there's a lot of handovers that happen, whether it's the woodcutter or the parts or whatever, or they're talking about something complex in the build and trying to figure something out. And everybody sort of like, knows that Chrissy's space is the most organised physically and mentally to be able to deal with those types of things. So it is cute to see them do that together. But yeah, so in terms of like relationship when we were younger and wood cutting and him on deliveries and things, I have a core memory. I don't know if it's okay to share. I'll try and make it as polite as possible and save the graces of my father. So there's one really good memory I've got of me and Chrissy, and it's on a works do, and we're in Dunkeld. And gosh, it must be like 19 maybe tops for me, and then so like Chrissy would have been like 16 or something, and the older ones have got themselves pissed, and where it's all sort of like bedtime, everybody's meant to be getting away to their bed, and for some reason Dad's the worst at this stage. Now bear in mind Dad doesn't drink anymore, so there's no fear of this happening again. Well, maybe there is, I don't know, but he gets halfway up the stairs and he thinks the plant pot is him going to the toilet. So there's a point where he's like, he thinks he's maybe in his bedroom, I'm not sure, but he's like saying, it's all right, lass, I'm just going for a pee, as if he's speaking to Granny Caroline. And then me and Chrissy are looking at each other like this, and we're like, no, Dad, no, you can't go there. Dad's like, what are you talking about? What are you doing here? And we're like, you're on the stairs, get to your room. So it's like the absolute hilarity of that. But in the moment of that, Dad knocks over the plant pot. So like there's like mud all over the stairs. And like me and Chrissy are like, God, what are we going to do? We're going to get in so much trouble from the hotel. So we go and like find all the cleaning stuff. And then we're like cleaning it all up, making it all tidy and that. And then like Chrissy's like, right, we'll write them a note. So he's like writing them a note. I was like, Chris, you've got the better handwriting. You do the note. Like, we're really, really, really sorry. Really sorry. It was John Mackay, not us. And we tidied up. It's just like, the fun of it and the hilarity of the carry on of the older ones, the adults being the misbehaved ones, and then like me and Chrissy having to be the ones that are responsible. But I mean, that's a good, 20 years ago now, and the emphasis on how me and Chrissy react to situations today versus even back then as a partnership is so good. Yeah. It just, I wonder if that's why it's such a core memory for me. It's so funny to think back on it. And just like the hilarity of us laughing at Dad laughing at himself, the mess that happened, and then us trying to rectify it. It kind of, I don't know, it kind of speaks a story for today's, relationship between me and Chris about sorting shit out at work. Yeah.
And that's it, like he's got there he's are like when he's younger looking after the older ones, and that's the same energy that Chrissy still has today in terms of looking after the younger ones. Like he's got that father figure, that dad energy, and the way that his communication is like a key thing for him, isn't it? In terms of like what makes him, how he became a leader, and what makes him a great leader, like within the workshop.
Yeah, I feel like there's an emphasis on his leadership because of the way that he is perceived by everybody else. So he has got the time, in terms of like, he's got the time badge, like he's been here long enough. But also he has got the right attitude and personality, in terms of how people perceive him and how they receive his help and his guidance. So you can ask any one of them, and I have, just not literally like a couple of weeks ago, in one-to-ones about like, cultural dynamics and, the sort of the leadership landscape and who they identify with. And every single one of them unanimously, Chrissy's their guy. There's a certain skill set that Chrissy has, which I think in leadership's really quite rare, or it's something that is a secondary learned for leaders. Like, it's really hard for them to overcome it, but it is about projection. And I do believe that for whatever reason, Chrissy has never had to deal with that. He doesn't project himself ever. He's not intrusive when it comes to how people are reacting to their own emotions or their own behaviors. He doesn't say, in his own head, like, oh, well, I think like this, so this will work for them. He's very much like letting them see the struggle for themselves, understand it the way that they need to understand it, and then just provide that support for them to piece it back. And he does it all without any judgment. He has full empathy, and he never comes from a place of blame or shame, which is beautiful to see. And it's something that's really quite difficult, especially I think for personalities like myself, which would lean into sort of like the frustration, the pissed offness, the blame and shame cycle of like, whose fault is it, blah blah blah. And like for me, like I have to really focus and teach myself the opposite of that. But for Chrissy, it's a sort of natural innate ability that he has. It's beautiful to see, like, just like the good before anything else. That's what he does. He looks for the good.
Yeah, you can see that in the meetings that we have, and like even just approaching Chrissy in the workshop. Chrissy's somebody that I've been able to approach now and again over time for help, and his presence is gentle, and he listens really carefully, and he teaches softly as well. And he takes his time, and he is patient, and like that's something I've appreciated about Chrissy, in terms of being able, I can approach Chrissy about anything. Like that's how I feel. Like like approach him about anything, and I know that he will be able to guide me no matter what it is, or point me in the right direction of what it is as well. And he is just so easy to get along with. As well. He's somebody that you feel like you can lean on him.
I do, like, I think that's a general census that most have with Chrissy. If I think about the young ones and their influences that they get, Chrissy does give them that a safe place, and I think it's funny because when you think about like challenges or you're about to have a difficult conversation, and I think about like how I can be perceived, and sometimes I think like it's like tone of voice, it's like body language, it's what is it that I can do better to sort of dampen that down a bit from being so assertive in points. And I think like I know that there's definitely times where I will encourage Chrissy to have the conversation that I know that he can do better than me. And that is something that I'm like, he needs to play into his strength and I need to play into mine. And if that's not my strength, then it's much better for Chrissy to have the opportunity to, rather than just watch myself fuck it up. And I think like that's the value that I get, is that having the alternative from me, which is a good thing to have. Not everybody is going to receive me well. And in fact, there's quite often times where I can make people more defensive or more resistant. And that's something that I work on all the time. But for Chrissy, don't know. It's like, because we're animals or something, eh? And when you approach Chrissy or Chrissy approaches you, there's no fear there. You're instantaneously at ease, and ready to have a conversation that you know isn't going to make you upset or make you feel shit. Yeah.
What's Chrissy's biggest impact on the workshop today and like Gillies Mackay overall?
Yeah. Well, remember when I was telling you that we had to make Callum the author for on-site manager?
Mm-hmm.
And that was like my first sort of like establishing how I'm going to look after like all these young folks that we've just employed. Very shortly after, I think Callum was like in the November, and then Chrissy was like in the January, February. I can remember doing this all around about the same time, establishing a sort of leadership team. So at that point, that was when I was like, Chrissy, he's going to be my workshop manager. I can already see the way in which he's building up on these guys in terms of their confidence and their abilities. And I want to mentor him in a way to communicate the same way as what I'm teaching Callum to. And ultimately, like, I take that responsibility very seriously. Like, these are the foundations that I'm setting in terms of culture and dynamics and how I want to lead. I don't want a company that doesn't lead the way that I want to lead it. Like, fuck that. Like, that's absolutely something I do not want. And I think for leaders, that's something they need to ask themselves. Like, what kind of culture do you want to harbour? Because it's up to you to make sure that it starts somewhere. So doing that with Chrissy at the very beginning of his journey of management, you know, he took it all in straight off the bat. I said, this is the type of communication that I want in Gillies Mackay. These are the lessons that we're going to learn from these thought leaders that I really like and enjoy and that think the same way as me. And this is the culture that we're going to derive and make sure that everybody else follows. Do you think that you can get on board with this? And Chrissy was like, yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. Let's get on with it. And to hear him in terms of like, the way in which he uses the methods I've taught and through the thought leaders that I've chosen, like to hear him say things like, you know, clear as kind, like that's big to me. That's a big fucking deal to have somebody believe it the way that you do. And I think for the messaging across the workshop and in operations as a whole is that Chrissy 100% believes in good communication and that communication is the key for everything running smoothly, and that he goes ahead and he does it with every single person every day to the best of his ability. Even on his shittest of days, he will make sure that he turns up. And I think that's the influence that he has on the rest of them. You would be like, I wish you could have been a fly on the wall when I was doing those interviews a couple of weeks ago, and how open and honest the team are and how able they are to articulate how they feel and what makes them tick and what they're comfortable with and what they're not comfortable with. Like, it's so beautiful. And that all comes because Chrissy instills it in them every day. Proud of them. Proud of Chris. Yeah,
it's so great. Like that's amazing to hear, because like I remember a time where like there was a focus on the culture and making a shift in the culture throughout the company, and it was really hard to get people to open up at first. It was a grind. It was trying to figure out, like, it was a journey in terms of trying to find their way and try to find ways to communicate with people in order for them to feel safe enough to open up. So to hear that now, in terms of the guys at opening up and being vulnerable like that, like, that's amazing. Like, that's like...
Yeah, but, you know, like, I was thinking about this the other day as well, like, do you think, this is going a little bit off piece for Chrissy's thing, but generally, like, I know that Chrissy will appreciate this. Like, I don't believe that people that aren't seeking this, that aren't trying to understand their people, I don't believe that they have any idea how powerful this is for anything that they can do in terms of decision making and leading an organization. Like, if you can really get your people on your fucking side, like, the possibilities are endless. Like, to understand them to that level, to be so sure that the decision that you're making is right because you have a full and complete understanding of your people, like, that is so fucking powerful.
Yep.
For everyone involved. Like, you make better decisions for the business, for yourself, and for everybody else by having that line of communication. I genuinely don't think that the folk that aren't practicing this have any fucking idea what they're missing out on. And, well, you know, bad luck to you, mate, because like, you are missing out. This is the better way to do it. This is the reason why it works. And I am, like, massively proud of them. And almost like a pinch me type of I sometimes can't get over that they believe in me, you know? So, like, I'm like, I know I believe in this. And, like, I spent so much of my life, I think, growing up thinking, like, I'm too weird or different for anybody else to really understand, and folk don't get it and tell me to shut up and sit down, and, you know, I'm too loud, I'm too much, I'm too this, I'm too that. So, like to be in a place now where I'm leading a company where people actually genuinely believe what I'm teaching and the way I want to do things is right, like, for me, that's a big fucking deal. And that would never have happened if it wasn't for the fact that I've got Chrissy and Callum and Gordon and Grant's buy-in for it. Like, they four, like, absolutely in operations. Like, without that, like, I would be so fucking hard. I'd still be doing it because there was a time where I was fucking doing it by myself too, but it would be so much harder. So to be in this position now, to have somebody like Chrissy on my side, like, I love it. So grateful. Yeah.
So what's next for Chrissy?
Well, I mean, it can only get better, can only get bigger, can only go further. We're growing, you know. We've got big plans, and I'd say, like, for 2026, but I'm also very aware that I have no concept of time, and my urgency is everybody's. But the thing is that I know that there's a bottleneck in terms of, like, what Chrissy can do for me, because he's so relied upon in terms of building the buildings. So I do really want to get to a place where Chrissy can allow more time for his management and creating the culture and infrastructure that he wants in his department. For right now, a lot of instruction has to come from me, and I really would love Chris to have the space for himself to be able to think about these things and take them on as challenges that he sees fit. And so in order to do that, you know, Jamie is in training for the complexities that Chrissy's doing. Once Jamie gets up a bit in that, then it's about creating another space, another bench, and creating another position there for filling that gap as well, and then easing the bottleneck that we currently have in manufacturing. And all of that will take time, and all of that will take management and training. So Chrissy's got a busy wee while ahead of him, I see, for certain. And I can see, like, in terms of, like, the cultural dynamics that we've got at the moment and the organizational structure that we're working towards. We've just had a little bit of a revamp. That is going to make a big difference to mine and Christopher's relationship, and then how he also interacts with the rest of the team. I can see him really stepping into the light, as it were.
Yeah, it's his time.
Mm-hmm.
If there's... Is there anything that we've not covered today that you would want Chrissy to know?
I think you'll find that's my fucking question. I say that all the time. Is there anything that I haven't said that you think I should have said? Yeah. Is there anything I haven't asked that you definitely think I should have fucking asked? Because I'm making this up as I go along.
No.
Is there anything that Chrissy needs to know? I think ultimately it's probably just a thank you. It's so easy to get sort of, like, overlooked when everybody else is sort of demanding of attention. And, you know, Chrissy's worked really hard with me for, like, 4 or 5 years now in his position, you know, and it's a big deal. And I know that it's not fucking easy, and it's a lot to ask. Like, it's a huge ask. We're a small business. Like, if you were to go and do this job somewhere else, in a much larger organization that had a lot of more money to throw at you, then, you know, financially it might be worth it. So in order for it to be worth it here, like, it has to come from the heart. So I really hope that I show Chrissy enough appreciation that he knows that I'm grateful to him. And I'm just thank you. That's really it. Yeah. Fabulous.
That's a wrap for today. If you want to hear more behind the scenes stories from Gillies Mackay, we have just started planning our season 2. So you can hit us up in the comments or email us at hello@NattyShedLife.com. See you next week.
Outro. What are you saying?
I've no idea.
Have you not got a card for that?
No, not that card.
Nicola, you've got 20 fucking cards.
Yeah,
You've
but
not
this
got
is...
a card for the outro.
Wait, what outro? Like, there's a single outro and there's a double outro, isn't there? Like, outro and then a single outro. Or is this the subscribe and...
Yeah, this is a subscribe pish, yeah.
Oh, fuck. Right, okay. I do have my outro.
Yeah, I
Right.
fucking knew you would.
Right, okay.